All right.
Okay, good.
Welcome back. Now we've got this figured out. We're going to host it on my channel, see if this works any better. But it's still Messiah of Keck's thing, so I'm going to let him do his thing.
Yeah, I guess what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a little bit of a reset on my channel. We were having a lot of audio problems. Thanks so much, OBS. One time I tried to make a stream look pretty. It looks like shit. So yeah, we're just going to be doing this over Google Hangouts Live because we're a bunch of plebes and we have absolutely terrible internet. So this is going to be our abortion debate. Debortion debate. Wow.
They sure it's the audio and not just you.
Well, I don't know. It's been a weird birth defect that I've had. I randomly cut out in the middle of my sentences, and so it's really weird sometimes. No,
it's the tech generation.
Exactly. No, basically what we're going to be doing is Merc is semi-pro choice. I'm very staunchly pro-life. We're going to quickly go over everything that we went over on our channel. We're going to give you the summarized version of it because me and Merc would, yeah, we would blow our freaking brains out if we had to go over the whole thing again. So just to quickly give you guys an introduction, my name is Messiah of Keck. I obviously am pro-life. I did a whole video explaining my stance on the issue as to why I believe a fetus is a living thing and that it deserves human rights all the same as mostly the mother is the other party that comes into question in these sort of debates. That's I don't think I even ran into too much into anything else.
No, that was, I think you actually went a little bit more on that one because you didn't even mention the fetus. But and see me, I'm pro-choice and I want to keep the government out of women's vaginas and uteruses, and it's to define when life began it's a real gray area on that one. So yeah, we're gonna get into this a little bit in depth. So
right, and okay, so we started off. One of my opening arguments was that in a lot of cases, women have abortions out of convenience, more or less, rather than the stereotypical, very marginalized, very small representative focus groups, such as women who have been raped, women who have been the victims of incest, incestual rape in many cases. Though rape only makes up about 1% of abortion cases, and incest makes up less than half of 1%. So to make that kind of address towards abortion, it's very small and disingenuous to the most causalities for it. The top 5 reasons are all basically reasons of convenience on the woman's part. Number 1 being that the baby would dramatically change the woman's life. Number 2 is that they cannot afford the baby. Number 3, the father is not around. Number 4, they've already had their choice of children and then they had an oopsie. And number 5 is that they're not ready for another child. Most of the times with these things, abortion is not not like the final solution, which I would actually recommend for most people. In the long run, if you do not want to have a child, you can always just give it up for adoption. And there are other cases that I think we're going to get into a little bit later as to, I mean, that more or less applies to kids who are byproducts of incest or rape. But we'll get into the hold downs thing and stuff like that. Kids with birth defects that's actually inhibit them in some way. We'll get into that one a little bit later on. I do have an argument against that, but I'm going to let Merc talk a little bit here now. Since I'm kind of stepping over. This isn't my stream anymore.
It's all good. This is our stream. It's our baby, and we're not going to. Never mind. I'm not going to make that joke. But
don't you dare abort my baby.
Well, it's like it tried to abort itself on your channel, so it came to my channel. But
I'm
so
I'm gonna go live with Dad.
that's right. I ain't the bitch in this one. But so one of the things, because on this he went over, you know, the top 5 reasons, and I brought up the point is that not, you know, over. Hold on a second. My channel. Well, that's your damn problem. Anyway.
Looks like Merc is having marital issues.
Yes, they can't abort that one. Anyway, so it's that over half of the women who actually even do have abortions in these cases have been using contraceptives, and they're not using abortion as, you know, a form of birth control. Not saying that they all don't or that they all are like that, but you know, a good majority of them are not using abortion as a birth control. So, but I know that the big point in the abortion debate is, for a lot of people, is, you know, where is the point of when does it become a life? When does it become a life form?
Right.
You know,
exactly.
And that's the big line for a lot of people.
Yeah, and something that I think that we can actually get into that right now, because I think we're now into new territory, in uncharted territory, is basically the whole thing that actually started this off was Irate Bear's video explaining why he's pro-life, and one of his opening statements was that he is pro-life after the point of 4 weeks. Now, a lot of criticism was given to him after he said that, because most people were saying, well, wait a second, 4 weeks is way too early to be even able to even tell that you're pregnant. So why are you even saying 4 weeks if most people don't even realize that they're pregnant in the first place? The thing is, just because you don't know, that does not change the biological development that has already gone on, the progress that has already been made. At 4 weeks, there's already a heartbeat. The fetus already has a heart. And the cutoff date for that is, for most states, it's 24 weeks. I know some states don't even have a cutoff week. But for a majority of them, it's 20 to 24 weeks. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a example of what happens from week 4 up to 24, most of the organs have already formed by week 12. Brain function has already begun by that point. The child has enough awareness of its surroundings to be able to tell that whether or not it's upside down or not. It's got fingers, it's got toes, it's got a skeleton, it's got a nervous system, it's got the whole package. And the only things which really happen to the fetus after this cutoff date is a bit more brain development, a couple eyelashes and eyebrows, inhalation of the amniotic fluid, and some weight gain. But by all accounts, the fetus is definitely a living being by that point. And something I actually brought up in my previous video, and I know a lot of people, if they're watching it from your channel, they might not have seen my channel in the video I did on that. There are 7 characteristics by which scientists classify life. And I'll quickly gloss right over them. I'm not going to really go into too much detail on them. I just have them listed right here. Growth and development, reproduction of offspring, we'll get into that one. Heredity of traits from the parent, homeostasis, metabolism, and cellular structure in response to an environment. The issue with reproduction that a lot of people take when classifying something as a living being or not is that they're talking about being able to produce more offspring yourself, either asexually or sexually. The problem with that is, when you make that insinuation, that means that children, by definition, are not living beings. Like prepubescent children. If a child cannot bear another child, that child is not to be considered a living being by that point. And, you know, obviously by that point, I think most of society would agree that, for the most part, that children are living beings. I don't think there's any debate between you and me, Merc, as to I can't go into a class of kindergartners and run them over with a four-wheeler because they're living beings.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, is that it's this whole living being thing. And honestly, you know, people say is, you know, this when life began, and you know where the life within the uterus begins. Here's the thing: is that life began over 1 billion years ago.
Well,
right?
yeah,
and human reproduction is just a continuation of that. So it's not like you're stopping, you know, all of life. You're stopping, you know, potentially, you know, a mass murderer, or you know, even a Nobel Prize winner. So it's that thing, is that, so you don't believe that life begins at conception, or do you?
I believe the process by which development into life begins at conception, because after the egg is fertilized, it immediately begins to divide itself, and it begins to form itself into an embryonic state. Not necessarily that actual cell in itself is actually a living thing. Scientifically speaking, yes, a fertilized egg, beginning at the point of development, it is. I think by 4 weeks, though, it is actually what we can consider to be a living thing, an actual life, just due to, in most part, due to the cellular structure, the heartbeat, as Bear pointed out in his video. By that point, you can definitely consider it to be a life, but the big issue is, for most every case, you don't know that you're pregnant by that point.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say that, is that, yeah, and that's one of the things when I did my video on it, is that with it, you know, let's say you just got done with your cycle, you've got another 3 and change. That's not exactly, you know, every 4 weeks, you know, from like end to end, give or take a few days, but inside of 4 weeks, it's very unlikely that you'll know. Outside of that, you know, you'll know, especially if you missed your cycle. You know, and that's a big scare, and sometimes women cycle late, and so that's where a lot of the scares come in. But yeah, inside of 4 weeks, you're not going to know it. So it's, you know, if you put your cutoff at 4 weeks, that's, you know, pretty much saying that abortion is illegal at that point.
Well, and that's actually the stance that I do take on it, because irregardless of, you know, whether or not you know or not, it does not change the fact that the fetus has developed to that point by that given amount of time. The development has already taken place, irregardless of whether you want it or not, or whether or not you even know that it's been going on. It's happened. There's nothing you can do about it. By that point, it should be considered a human life by all definitions, scientific, barring reproduction. But as we already addressed, children, for the most part, children, babies.
So my question is, if it's a human life and she has a miscarriage, are you gonna have a funeral? If it's a human life, you know, a lot of these people, you know, they'll say that, they say, yeah, this is a human life. Well, how come the census doesn't take them into consideration? You know, a lot of people will say we got 2 kids, one on the way. I mean, come on. So it's,
well, the census doesn't take them into consideration, but what you are glossing over from a societal standpoint is, if a pregnant woman is murdered, the person who murdered her is actually charged with double homicide.
Yeah, it's a double standard is what it is that the courts will see it that way.
And I don't know if it's just something that's we as a society just need to kind of figure out, if it's just kind of like a just throw horse shit at the fantasy with sticks kind of thing. As of right now, with it, like, there definitely needs to be some sort of policy put into place for things of that nature, like you said, of regarding them in a census and charging somebody who murders a pregnant woman with a double homicide. It's definitely a double standard, and it's definitely hypocritical, but it's just something that needs to be figured out. And I mean, it all kind of boils down to the argument of, because this is a debate I don't ever see being finished in our lifetime.
Oh no.
Unless there's like some new revolution of people who look into this thing more scientifically and see that a fetus does fulfill the principles of life, and it is then generally accepted by the populace to be a living being, and then, you know, Roe versus Wade gets overturned, and all the conservatives start coming in their pants with excitement.
See, the big thing with it being life is that this comes out of a very biased point of view for most of these people, and in some sense, you're not. Here's my thing: is that you're not vegan, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so, and this does in some sense apply to you, is that human life takes more precedence over any other life there is.
Yes, I agree with that.
You know, because and to kind of put this little joke there, with humans it's an abortion, with chickens it's an omelet.
Well,
you know, what you need to
remember is that all chickens need to have genocide committed against them immediately. I fucking hate chickens. I hate chickens, and I decided I hate ukuleles almost as much as I hate chickens today.
Oh, then I'm gonna. Oh, I've got a video to put out for you then. But
God damn it! Is it a chicken playing a goddamn ukulele?
It's going to be an army of chickens with ukuleles. Yes.
Oh,
but see, that's the thing, is that a lot of these, you know, is that people say, well, you know, we can't kill humans, but, you know, we can eat meat, we can eat all these other animals, we can go hunting, we can go fishing, we can kill birds, and all this other things. Like, why are we so much better than animals out there? Okay. Well, if you're vegan, you don't eat meat, you don't eat any animal products, and you're against abortion, okay, cool. I understand that. But if you're coming from a meat eating perspective, you're coming from a biased point of view. You know, human life is better than a animal's life. We're all animals. We just have an ability to communicate. Like
we have an ability to communicate. We have an ability to build. We are, by all accounts, the dominant species on the planet Earth. We could essentially hunt other species into extinction if we so chose to do so. But that's just goes back to the principles of nature. It's the law of nature. Is that only the strongest will survive, survival of the fittest. You got to have somebody at the top of the food chain. You got to have somebody who is the superior being over all other forms of life on the planet. And as of right now, it's humans. Before it was like the freaking Tyrannosaurus or whatever the hell.
Didn't you learn anything from Lion King? It's a symbiosis. Everything has to maintain a good balance, and humanity is actually putting all of this shit out of balance. That's why there's, you know, we're causing animals to become extinct with what we do. We are throwing everything out of balance. So saying that, you know, taking out, you know, saying that human life is more important than these millions of animals that we've wiped out, really? No. Well, yes, we're at the top of the food chain right now, but pound for pound, we're outnumbered by ants and by termites, who both themselves are constructors. They both build, and they both live in a female run, a monarch society. It's run by queens. Okay, and you know, so it's very like I said, it's hypocritical to say that we're more important, that our life is more, a baby's life is more important than animals out there.
No, I absolutely disagree with you on that one. The very fact that we do hold so much superiority over these creatures, the fact that we do have the ability to actually stand above them and actually be able to eat basically any of them that we so choose to do so, that actually proves human superiority and in survival of nature. Like, okay, do you think that there are multiple cases of where there are wolves in in a place where they usually wouldn't be, and they usually hunt, and they will hunt down the local deer population almost into extinction?
Well, why do the wolves go there, though?
Do you think that the wolves give a shit?
No, but here's the thing with nature. The thing with nature, though, is that they will balance out. Those wolves will eventually die off, and the population will come back. But here's the thing: why did the wolves go there?
Too. That's essentially what's happening to humans too. As of right now, we have a massive overpopulation problem. We have a massive problem in even our livestock community that we've been noticing. Price of beef has gone up a lot because the cows are not able to reproduce for whatever reason, and so now the cost of beef goes up. Humans aren't able to eat the beef, so they have to resort to alternate food sources. That's something that we are able to do evolutionarily, and that's because we're superior to these creatures, is because we are omnivores. We have the digestion to eat basically any animal that we want. We don't exactly have the stomach of a goat, but at the same time,
well, see, if there were less humans on this planet, the cost of beef would go down. Okay, the demand would go down, and therefore, allowing people to have abortions and not overpopulate this planet anymore.
Well, okay, I got an alternate solution to that doesn't involve immorally killing off children before they actually have a chance at life. But just go on with your thought, because I think that we're going to be arriving at the same thing.
Well, that's pretty much it. Is that if you're allowing, I wouldn't say natural selection, but it is a form of natural selection, because we are choosing who lives and who dies, and not just within humans, but also within the other animal kingdom. Is that, if we don't force humans to reproduce, and bring more lives into this planet, then the cost of food will go down, because there won't be as many people to feed. But in that, it does come down to, if we go back and actually educate fuckers and how to prevent kids.
Absolutely. I think that's basically the biggest overlap that we have right now, is that
education.
Yeah, that there is a sufficient lack of education, and that people are not taking so many of these things into account before they make the decision to become sexually active. So yes, I do agree that is where we are kind of overlapping with where we agree, but it's to what extent. I personally have the opinion, like I've said before in this debate, that I believe that adoption is a resource that a lot of the abortions that are made out of convenience should be done for. Here's the thing with adoption. It's not well promoted in the mainstream at all. I've seen it firsthand. We have orphans who are in their entire into the adoption agency their entire lives. And then they come out broke as hell. The thing about that is, that's because not so many people are willing to adopt. Many of them are more or less want their own child, rather than to take somebody else's kid who has had everything stripped away from them. And that's a crying shame to me, because I might just be speaking for myself, but if I were to have kids, I think I would actually adopt somebody, and give them the opportunity that nobody else wanted to give them beforehand. Of course, I'm not in a financial situation to have kids by this point, but that's regardless. What I think that we need to do is we need to have a little bit more of resurgence. We need to put a little bit more investment into adoption agencies. And so people will consider it more as an option, rather than, hey, let's make our own kid. Instead, they'll look at the adoption agency and say, hey, let's adopt a kid, as a kind of like a balancing act almost. Because if a couple decides to adopt, they probably, depending on how many kids they adopt, they probably won't want to have a child of their own by that point. They're going to be satisfied with the family that they have for themselves now. And so they're not producing more kids that could potentially go back into the agency. You have more families doing the exact same thing. That is, in effect, population control. Because it's in a way, it's encouraging people to have less kids.
Yes, no. It's encouraging indirectly. It's encouraging those who can afford to have families to not reproduce. Now, have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
No, I have not.
Okay, this is something that you're going to need to go watch, because this comes straight into that. Is that Idiocracy? They basically explain that people of intelligence, of higher intelligence, have less children. Those who are essentially backwood hillbilly dumb fucks are going to reproduce like rats.
Oh, absolutely.
And eventually, this world is going to be overrun by these idiots. And it's, again, go watch the movie and it'll go into more detail about it and show you what the world's going to be like in 500 years.
Well, I mean, I can already imagine, because I've noticed that myself. Because my grandfather grew up in a very poor family, and yet his parents had 7 kids, and he himself, like, he had a good job by today's standards, I guess you could say. Back in the day, it was more like a common job. He used to work for GE, so by the time it was at the end of his life, he had like the best health insurance ever. But no, at the time, it was more like less a common job. He wasn't making like, crazy amounts of money, but he had 5 kids himself.
Yeah.
And then all of his kids from that point on, they had a little bit more money than he did. And they ended up having less children, like less than the 5 number or so.
Yeah.
But that's an observable pattern that you see a lot of times, is that people who have more money, for whatever reason, tend to not have kids. Now, I don't know if it's just because poor people have nothing better to do than fuck their wives, or I don't know.
But it's not necessarily the wealth that I'm going after. Is that it's the intelligence, the IQ that's going to start dropping. Essentially, if you're allowing those rabbits or those rats to continue to procreate, but give them up for adoption, intelligent people are going to adopt kids. And yes, the kids' IQs might go up because they're raised in a better environment and raised with better schools.
Absolutely.
But there's only so much that nurture can do. I mean, it's a combination of nature and nurture. If the kid doesn't have good genetics, they're not going to be able to, perpetuate the human species into a better, I can't think.
Into a higher state of being.
Yes, thank you. So, and that's the thing, is that I'm not against adoption. The reason why I'm not against adoption is I was adopted myself.
Right.
I know what this is, but here's the thing you don't look at. You're looking at the kid, and yes, the kid could have this opportunity, but what does the mother go through after she's given up? She's, grown this child for 9 months, and then it's, basically it flies out of her body. It rips through her body, and then it's gone. What kind of emotional shit is she going to go through now? Is
that by her own choice, though?
Well, and
you have to realize, I'm not saying that, we should have people who are, robbing the maternity ward, people of their babies. I'm saying if a woman of her own free will wants to give up a child after giving birth to it, that's fine. The thing is that
even if they give up the child of their own free will, that doesn't mean that she's still not going to go through this emotional stress and all this other stuff. Because even women who keep their children still go through postpartum depression and have psychological issues after the child is born. There's a lot of stuff that happens to a woman's body when after birth, and even during the gestation period. So there's a lot of other stuff. Then
you need to kind of consider, though, postpartum depression is going to be a part of it no matter what, whether or not you keep the kid or not. You're going to have all these emotions, these mixed feelings about it. Overall, though, it was your decision to give up the kid. And if you decide to give up the kid, after, the whole trauma of, giving birth and all that is all done, that's it. That's the end of it. You don't have to put up with the 18 years of diapers and schools and all this other stuff that you have to give to a kid that you actually want to keep, rather than, no, Red, we're not going to send you the link.
No, she's like, sure, now you send me the link. I sent her the link when I started.
You're a terrific husband.
Yeah, ask her that. Okay, so here's the thing: is that this is coming from experience. So when I found my biological mother.
By the way, just a quick question. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Is this unlisted as of right now?
It should be listed.
I don't know, because I'm seeing like a little unlock symbol right next, right in front of the title. I don't know if that means that it's unlisted or not, because we only have 2 people watching.
Let me double check that. That might be an issue.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't know if you're actually broadcasting as of right now.
It says, yeah, we're live. Edits.
Then again, I was only able to find the video through the link that you sent on Twitter. So let me actually go to your channel and see if it says that it's live right now.
Now it's listed. I forgot I did a test stream earlier.
So, fuck?
Hey, at least my audio works, goddammit. Fuck.
Don't
Whatever.
blame me. Blame Ohio.
My bad.
Okay, so
I'm not going back over this. Rewind this shit.
We're not. Yeah, rewind it. Yeah, that's exactly it. You're gonna have to rewind it if you want to see more of it. It's gonna be published on the channel anyway after we're done anyway. But it'll probably be up on my channel too.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can mirror it on mine. But
anyway, like, so one of the things is I've had a chance to talk to my biological mother, and you know, she's moved on, and you know, we've talked, and I talked to my sister, but I don't get to talk to my brother because you know he's got some emotional issues. But you know, we've talked about what she went through and the emotional stuff, and how she spent like the next 4 or 5 years after she gave me up for adoption, and what it did to her. You know, and so it's, and even with having an abortion, you still have those emotional issues.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
There's no right answer to this. I mean, adoption is definitely, in my opinion, a better option, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was kind of getting at. Is we're at the point right now where we already have an overpopulated Earth. We already have so many people having way too many kids, and we don't have the resources to support them all. This is eventually going to lead to a massive drop in human population. It's just part of natural selection. Where was I going with this? So yeah, adoption, in as I pointed out before, it could potentially be a way to kind of lower these numbers down a little bit. But as you already said about like your mother going through the emotional turmoil and all that, like I can understand where she's coming from with that, and that there is no one solution to it. Maybe what I could say is, if you do give up a kid to an adoption agency, maybe go in there, and if you have regrets later on, and say, hey, listen, I'm here to pick up my kid. You can give me some sort of paternity test, you know, to prove that it's mine or something like that.
No, I'm not sure. So with mine was different because when I was born, before I was even born, my parents knew they were going to adopt me, and my biological mom, or basically they'd already squared everything away. So it was like, you know.
Oh, okay. So I was
shot out into somebody else's arms, basically.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that your biological mother was more or less like a midwife?
No, she was 16.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it's, mind you, I am absolutely happy that I was not aborted. Because I would not be here right now.
Well, I mean, I imagine that most children would be happy.
At the same time, if I was aborted, I wouldn't fucking know.
I mean,
you know, and it would just, you know, be that situation.
I mean, that's why I'm not using that as an argument. It's a terrible argument.
My thing is okay, and this is going to be kind of a personal, and you don't have to answer this right now, but actually, I'm not even going to ask. So, but if you've never gone through,
no, go ahead.
I'll say, if you've never gone through a situation where you've ever had to make that choice, it's real hard for you to kind of, and you in a general sense, not you specifically, but it's hard for anybody unless they've gone through that, you know, having to make that choice to even have a real input on it. Yeah, you can, you know, say what you think is, you know, what is right or what is moral, but until you've come down to it and actually had to, you know, choose whether or not to go through it or not go through it or give the kid up for adoption or anything like that, those people's inputs is kind of invalid in my eyes. If you haven't had to make that choice, I'm sorry. You know, if you've never had to raise a kid on minimum wage, if you've never had to, you know, raise a kid by yourself, you know, if you've never gone through labor pains, if you've never done that stuff, input is great. But for people like that, dictating policy isn't, they shouldn't be the ones who dictate it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. I'm not trying to dictate policy, just so that I can restrict access to abortion for women who want it. My main concern is that I consider that fetus to be a human life, and that human life, has certain rights, and those rights are being infringed upon by somebody else's choice. Like, kind of an example of this is if somebody wanted to come and murder me and they asked permission from my mother first and she said yes, is that justified then? That's kind of how I see it in like a more extreme view, but not really, because it's essentially the same thing.
It's just promoting, like 25th term abortion. That's all it is. And again, I'm not for, late term abortion. In some instances there needs to be a late term abortion, but that's like up in the 20s and 30 term abortion. But yeah, that's basically where my entire position comes from, though, is I feel that as though it is a question of human rights for the child, and not so much, restricting access to choice for a mother, because, I'm not that awful of a person. But I'm just saying, I feel as though the child in most instances is overlooked. And I mean, by all biological standards, yes, they are a living being. And by extension, they have human rights. And I mean, even if you wanted to say, well, the baby's life does not mean as much as a human life, okay, but how much meaning does its life have? Because we also have protection against animals legally. We have animal cruelty laws and stuff like that. So even if you wanted to say something to that extent, you can't just take a shotgun and shoot your dog in the face. Yes, I can. I could go out there right now and shoot both my border collies. That there is nothing against the law against it. Now, abusing them, where I don't feed them, I chain them up and stuff like that, that's abuse. But if I go and put my dogs down, that's on me. If I've got livestock and I go shoot them and slaughter them, that's on me. That's
okay. So then, maybe that wasn't a very good comparison on my part then. Basically, it's a separation of human from animal then by that standard. And I actually do find it kind of funny then that you brought that up, because you just said not too long ago the question of how much more value does my life have than an animal's life, and yet you just explained, if it's livestock, you're allowed to put it down whenever you want. If it's a dog, you're allowed to put it down whenever you want. The question of whether or not it has the same value of life does not really apply in that instance. Even if you do want to compare a fetus to that.
But I'm not arguing a pro-life stance.
All right, now you got me a little bit confused.
So the thing is that, okay, my argument is saying that, that you're going from the human's life is more important because, you eat meat, you eat chicken, you eat fish, you eat bird and all that stuff.
Natural selection, yes.
Okay. And, if I choose, I'm not saying that I'm pro-life. I'm pro-choice, I guess, is the broad term. Because I don't think there is a term for, being 50-50, I guess. Unless you know what the term is. Indecisive. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
So Bear and I are indecisive as motherfuckers. But so that's the thing, is that I'm not saying that human lives are more important. Yes, we have the ability to go end any life out there, but I'm not saying that my life is more important than, my neighbor's horses. Because I don't know what the fuck they've been. They might have saved my neighbors from a fire at one point. One life is no more important than any other life. We're all lucky to be alive. Okay. Like I said, life started, a billion years ago, and it's just a continuation. Just because one little blip here and there comes in and out, in the whole of things doesn't mean shit, really. and human life and all life on this planet doesn't mean anything in comparison to the universe. So it's just,
now you're just kind of getting away from the issue a little bit. Now you're just making really broad terms.
Yes, you're right. I am. But one of the things I'm glad you actually didn't bring up is, the sanctity of life, because at least you're not Christian, or I hope you're not like Catholic or anything like that. But
excuse me, this is a Christian server.
Shit. Well, I'm fucked. But
you will burn in the fires of hell for your sin, young man.
That's fine. There'll be plenty of people and good barbecue.
Yeah. No. I don't take any kind of argument to authority kind of stance on that. More or less, my reasoning behind it is purely biological reasoning, and also moral reasoning, because you can have moral without religion, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just determining it out for yourself. Humans need to kind of get a little bit of a feel for it, because in cases like this, if you're not going off of like something that's of where the morality has been written out for you and you have to follow it out, you kind of have to tiptoe around it, and you have to kind of figure it out for yourself as you go along. Yeah. And that's what we're doing right now, is we're trying to kind of figure this out as we go along. Kind of figure out how much merit that it has in its life. Now, I personally just believe that as far as humans go, we should be considering each other having more value than, say, a horse. But you have to wonder then, does a horse consider that it has more value to its own kind than to a human?
Yeah, and that goes because of the argument of self-preservation and
self-preservation and self-awareness of it. So that's what I'm saying. A horse does not care about a human falling down and breaking his legs.
Not any random human. I mean, this goes into that. This is like specific arguments of animals creating bonds with people, and saving their owners from different situations. But that's has nothing to do with this conversation. But I guess it kind of does, because
what it all boils down to, like I just said, is that we're just trying to determine the value of life. And yes, in the grand scheme of things, life is absolutely meaningless. It has absolutely no bearing on anything, because we are a little tiny blue blip in a vast universe, and we are the byproducts of tiny organisms that would bite each other's heads off to nourish themselves up to this point. So, I mean, if you're looking in that broad spectrum, all life is irrelevant. But then if you look at it from that spectrum, then too, you kind of have to wonder whether or not our society would devolve into some form of anarchy, where it's like, oh, well, life is meaningless anyway, let's just go kill everybody.
It's just things that it wouldn't. I don't think it would. It might devolve for a little bit, but again, and this goes on to a gun control debate, but eventually everything would kind of balance out, and there'd be a homeostasis of just, okay, I'm not going to kill you, you're not going to kill me, we're going to work together and live in peace.
Well, and there you go. That's exactly what I just described to you, is that within human morality, that's something that we've learned. Assumedly, that's something that we learned evolutionarily, is that we don't really want to kill off our own kind.
Yeah.
If a cow could talk, do you think that we would eat beef? Probably not.
Probably not.
No, it would just be really uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then you look at like the Hindus, and because of cows being ancestors, that's and they look at us as well. Yeah, but it's just kind of the same thing, is that there's going to be cultures that are going to eat it regardless if it talking or not, and there's still cultures that are cannibalistic, and human life is no more than livestock at that point.
Right. Well, I mean, I would argue then that they haven't socially developed to the same extent that societies who have already founded some sort of moral for themselves have, because then you don't have the whole homeostasis thing.
But not see now you're putting our social morals on them, and you know who's to say that
I'm not
they're right.
I'm not putting it on them. I'm just saying that they have not evolved
Reached our social morals
to our social morals.
Yeah, which
precisely
doesn't necessarily mean that it's, you know, that our social morals are right. They work for now, but you know, so have theirs for, you know, thousands of years, because a lot of these cannibalistic societies are still, you know, preserved tribes,
right?
You know, and their social morals work for them, and yeah, they might be not as scientifically advanced as us, but you know, just like our social morals work for us, but we can't put our morals on them. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like same thing as that. Like it's trying to enlighten.
It's more or less when you look at it by that standpoint, an argument of progression within a specific society, because obviously societies where it's completely okay to eat your own kind are not at the same level of progression as societies that don't.
True.
And so it's more or less then kind of trying to preserve your populace then by that point, more than it is just a question of morals and ethics and what works for them.
Yeah.
And I mean,
the hell you just cut out.
We'll get better internet.
I don't know. Like,
no, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think we've kind of reached kind of like a standpoint. We both agree that yeah, it comes down to education. Yeah, it's the big thing.
Yeah, I think where we're kind of varying a little bit is as to how much education is necessary, and as to the steps to prevent this whole situation from arising, because irregardless of what we both believe, abortion in the long run is a last resort. You and I both agree on that. I would assume.
Yeah, I believe it should be a last resort. It shouldn't be your first. You know,
it shouldn't be it should not be the common contraception.
No, it should not be. It should not be used as a contraceptive. It's between abortion and adoption. Those are your last two resorts, honestly. But you know, if you can stop it before it gets to that point, you know, a vasectomy, getting I can't remember the proper term, but getting your tubes tied, using condoms and the pill. There's a lot of options out there, and it's just educating. And I think American society is very prudish when it comes to not so much anymore, but has been very prudish when it comes to sex. And there's this trend, if you look from like the 70s, from, you know, like the sexual revolution in the 60s, and in the 70s, the abortion rates, legal abortion rates, have been on a very steady decline because of the openness of people willing to, you know, talk about sex and sex not being taboo, and, you know, being able to go and buy condoms or get condoms for free and have, you know, other forms of contraceptive available. And I think the more we talk about it and the more we're open with our kids and, you know, the younger group about sex and about educating themselves and protecting themselves, you're going to see, regardless of what the abortion laws come down to and what the term limits come down to, it should be
more or less, yeah, it should be more or less prevention at the very beginning.
Yeah, and that's been a big thing, is that, you know, since sexual education is becoming more and more prevalent, it's the abortion rates have dropped significantly. I mean, I'm just looking at numbers,
and that kind of goes back to what we stated before, that a majority of this problem affects only minority neighborhoods and stuff like that, who have very low income and don't have the access to this education. It's more prevalent for them because they don't have this openness or this education entitled to them yet.
Yeah. Now, so, I'm gonna go into this because I'm sitting here reading the chat. I don't know if you are, but Red has probably the best solution for birth control. Swallow. You don't have to worry about it. You don't get pregnant that way. And I will back that up, and I will make sure she is well trained on that one. So, I don't know. I'm like I said, we're pretty much kind of.
Yeah,
I know your standpoint. Is my standpoint any more clear, or is it still as muddled as it was before?
I mean, no. It's less muddled than that god awful video that you put out. That was 30 minutes long and consisted mostly of
Hey, yeah, well, you know what? Not all of us have editors, so which is funny is because the person who edits other people's videos did shit job editing his own. I know.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. I'm just like looking at this video. I'm like, did he bother to script or edit or do anything? Or
honestly, I didn't. It was just I recorded it and clipped it together. So, but you got to start. You got to start somewhere. You can't put out this glamorous thing right off the bat, because then they're going to expect
we all can't be Messiah of Keck.
No, we cannot. But yeah, so essentially, to clarify, so that there's no misunderstanding, I don't agree that the government should be dictating or creating a law against abortion. I think abortion should be available. Anything past 22 weeks really is I don't agree with. Definitely not third term, but first term, 13 weeks and before, I'm fine. Well, yeah, for the more or less, I'm not opposed to. Not that I'm fine with it, but I'm not opposed to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have to get an abortion, so I'm not really. I don't think that my opinion matters as much as a woman who's either has to go through it or has gone through it. But that's just my opinion. 13 weeks before, I'm not opposed to. Anything beyond that, it gets worse and worse. And then there's always it's a case by case scenario. There are those less than 1% situations. There's genetic defaults and stuff like that that I can understand and I can see being justifiable.
Right. Well, I mean, to kind of clarify on what I said, I ignore the kind of more social aspect of it, and I kind of focus more or less on the biology of it. And by all biological accounts, it is a living thing. And so, expanding upon that on a social construct, then if it is a living being, it deserves the rights of a living being. And so if that is the case, then looking at it from a biological standpoint, it shouldn't be allowed just simply due to the fact that the fetus has its own rights. And the woman also has her rights too, granted, yes. But there's also certain things that we have now, like midwives and things of that sort, that could, if the woman does not want to carry the kid, she doesn't have to. It's not her. It's not so much a debate as to whether or not it's the woman's body or not, because what I'm examining is the kid in the situation. And so I believe then that maybe not exactly from the point of conception and then cell division, but definitely by the time you get to like week 4, that's definitely a living being. And as we already pointed out, it's basically pointless to try and put a restriction that early on, because you just don't even know by that point most of the time. So that's what I'm saying. Even if you wanted to sway me into saying before the 4 weeks, it's fine, it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah. No, I get you. And this is the there have been people, thousands of people with, higher IQs than both of us combined debating this back and forth. And
well, I don't know, maybe higher IQs than you, but
well, yeah, that's see, you're getting me at a slight disadvantage here. I've been up since 9 o'clock yesterday.
No.
But it's all good. Shit, I did have a point, then you made me laugh and I lost it.
No.
Oh, okay. I'll remember it and I'll make a half-hour video. So,
check is dumb.
it'll be chickens marching. Yeah.
Oh, Red just point this out in the chat. From a woman's point of view, it includes my opinion on women consulting men before ending life. Do you want to kind of talk about that one a little bit
yeah,
more?
that was actually the point I was going to make. I should have just looked over to my left. Is that yeah? So that's another thing is that, you know, if the woman's married or has a significant other or the father's in the picture, you know, and one party wants to have the abortion, the other party doesn't, that's, you know, where's the decision made? Who makes the decision on that? And
the decision to be made by that point ultimately does kind of fall towards the woman then, if it's at a stalemate kind of point by then. But I do still feel as though the father should get his 2 cents in, especially if he is willing to commit to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree on that. Is that, you know,
I mean, if you hit it and quit it and then run away, no, you just surrendered all of your say in the matter. But if you're actually sticking beside her for the whole thing, and you're right there, you should be able to get your 2 cents in, and you should be able to try and argue your case towards her, most certainly. But I'm not saying then that it should just come down to an absolute stalemate, because then if it comes down to an absolute stalemate, well, then one side ultimately wins in the end, because then the kid is carried to term.
Yep.
But what I'm saying then on that part, because I'm kind of lukewarm on this whole part right here, is because it doesn't really apply to my main arguments. It's more or less just kind of like one of those social things where it's like, okay, how much say does the father actually get in it? I mean, I don't think it's okay to begin with, but when you're consulting, there should be some kind of consulting between the two.
Oh, see, and then there's this one doesn't. I don't think it happens nearly as much, but you have the situation of, you know, the man.
You know what the solution should be?
What's that?
If the father wants it and the mother doesn't, they should be able to take it out of the mother and put it in the father.
I agree with that. Go for it.
Go for it. Exactly. If you can figure it out.
Yeah. You know, we could put technology to that, but there's this rare situation that, you know, the woman doesn't tell the man that she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And then has the abortion. And then now, you know, he wanted kids. Now, you know, this is, we're getting away from
then that's not okay, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's not okay, in my opinion. Definitely, you know, but you know,
that's a really scummy thing to do.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
So, getting a little serious here, and I'm trying to keep it somewhat lighthearted.
Well, I mean, I kind of figured that this would kind of get a little bit more serious, because I've recently noticed that I've become a lot more of a leftist, and I don't know. I don't know if it's because I've seen what like the alt-right has been doing to the right, and I'm just like, no, get this away from me. I don't want any association whatsoever with you people. But there are a couple areas, this one being the most predominant one, where I still stay to that field. The other one that I could maybe think of is like legalization of substances which are now currently illegal, but that's a whole nother debate. That's a whole nother 4 hours that we can be sitting here talking about something like that. And I kind of want to get a shower. So
yeah, that'll be a good topic for, you know, another one is considering, you know, a lot of states are switching over and allowing, you know, at least pot to be legal. And I know there's other things out there that.
I mean, at the same time though, too, I'm kind of becoming a little bit more liberal on that one too, because like I can definitely, like, I understand that it's down to like an individual right kind of thing. Like if you want to smoke weed, that's fine. Just don't sell it to my kids. And like other drugs are the same thing too. You know, that's ruining your own life. That's your own choice. That's fine. My only stipulation is don't go around selling it to kids, and we should not be legalizing things like PCP, which causes people to act violently and go out and shoot up schools.
Yeah.
You know, no, keep those things out. But the other drugs, you know, even the ones with the negative consequences on your biology, you know, that's you ruining your own life. I don't really have too much of a say in that. I mean, if you want to ruin your own life by taking drugs, that's fine.
Yeah, but again, like you said, yeah, that's a topic for another debate.
Oh, exactly. Yeah,
and I'd be more than happy, if you want to go on that one, and we could have a conversation about that.
I don't know if that would be more, that probably wouldn't be more of a debate. That would probably just be more of kind of like a discussion of that one.
That's what I said. If you want to have a conversation,
because like I said, I'm a little bit more lukewarm on that one right now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah. I guess I'm a little bit more liberal on it. Where I don't know what my stance is or what you would classify a lot of my stances are. I guess, I'm more liberal on
things. I mean that's part of the reason. That's part of the problem of kind of being a more or less a centralist, which is basically the camp that we're both kind of in. There's like certain things where you're like, okay, I really don't have too much conviction on this, and I haven't really read too much on this, but I'm not like associated with any kind of party, so I don't really, I don't really do too much reading on it.
Yeah. And see, like one of the things we came into, and nobody probably heard this, or actually, I know nobody heard this.
No, I know nobody heard this because you didn't make it public.
Yeah, but well, I'm talking, even if this, people go and watch this later, but is like in the beginning when I said, I know you're going to be coming with facts. I've got a few, but this is more, my opinion and how I. Well,
yeah, I mean, the thing is, the facts could only carry this so far. Is the thing, because, beyond a certain point, like I could use facts to help support my opinion on the matter of the fact, but ultimately it just kind of comes down to differences in morality, and morality cannot, especially objective morality, where you're not making any kind of argument to authority, you can't really provide any kind of like factual statements on things like that, because then it's just kind of like, okay, well, that's just your opinion. Exactly. That's the opinion.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and like I said, unless you've gone through it, unless you've had to make that choice, opinions are kind of moot either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I don't know. This is something I don't know if you've had to make that decision, but I have. And I've gone through it, and I've gone through it with an ex, and it's just like, so I've been there. I've been in those shoes of, what do we do at that point?
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's where most of my opinions come from.
Yeah.
I've gone through it. I've done this.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. I know. I can appreciate talking to you when you have that kind of standpoint. Contrary to what Red believes, no, I am not a single father. I don't know what even brought that one up, but
did I miss something in the chat?
No. This is a while ago. Like somebody on my Discord was like, "Hey, are you a single father?" I was like, "No, I'm not. Why?" She's, and they're like, "Oh, well, Red said that you were a single father and that she has so much respect for you." And I was like, okay, that's fine, but I don't have a kid.
Because I saw a picture on your Twitter of
oh no, that's Toots. That's my little cousin.
Oh, okay.
I would adopt her in a heartbeat if her parents would let me. I might just need to stage an accident.
See, now it can't be an accident. Mind you, there's only 3 people watching, but still. So. Anyway,
no,
I think we've been for about an hour or so.
Yeah. Let me see if there's anything else that I need to.
Any points you didn't bring up?
Institutionalism. I didn't bring that up. So part of the argument on the pro-choice side, I want to quickly gloss over this one very quickly. Is if the child is born with like Down syndrome or something like that, do you abort it, or do you carry it to term and then institutionalize it? I'm in favor of institutionalizing them, because when you institutionalize them, you know that they're getting care, and they don't have the awareness then, if that's the environment they live in, to be able to say, hey, wait a second, my life sucks, because I have Down syndrome or something like that. They lack that self-awareness because they're around other people just like them their entire lives by that point. And like I said, I don't think that you should abort a child for any other circumstances other than the mother's life is in danger, or if you can tell through X-rays or whatever, or sonograms, I guess. You don't use X-rays on a pregnant woman. A sonogram. If you use like a sonogram and you're able to tell that that kid is going to be like hideously disfigured, you know, he's got like an arm growing out of his head or something like that, something ridiculous, you know, then, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. You know, if the kid's going to be living his entire life out in pain. But oh, and another thing that I wanted to note on that is a lot of times when doctors advise for them to go to that option, because they scan the kid and they say, oh, we detected an anomaly, they probably have, you know, Down syndrome or Parkinson's or something like that, I would recommend an abortion. And there's hundreds of cases. I've heard of 3 personally, but I know there's hundreds upon thousands of cases where the parents refuse that advice from the doctor and they decide to carry the kid to term, and then it just turns out that the kid is perfectly happy and healthy.
Yeah, no, I got you on that. So have you looked into the institutions that people with Down syndrome or these mental deficiencies?
No, I have not myself, but I would imagine that they are probably not up to snuff as to where I would like them to be. But then again, it would probably just have to come back to public funding for that sort of thing. I mean, I wouldn't mind paying taxes to something like that, rather than the absolutely awful things that our government spends money on, like giving cocaine to monkeys. That is a legit thing that they did. I'm still salty about that one. But no, I would be more than happy if we got our act together and that we decided that yes, we can put hold on one second, that we could put some sort of funding towards something like that that's actually meaningful and productive. And I mean, I imagine now that the institutions and the facilities as of right now are not up to snuff, but that would just have to be something that would have to kind of get resolved alongside this issue then.
So yeah, no, state institutions, and that's where most of them would end up. State institutions are sorely underfunded and for those type of disabilities, and not to mention just like, you know,
I mean, that's a crying shame. That's honestly a crying shame.
You know, some people would even put into the argument of, you know, they'd rather, like, you're starting to go that direction, but then you took a button, you took a left. But, you know, some people will say it's like, well, they'd rather put their funding into that than into, you know, spending for like abortions and stuff. And it's like, you know, there's not a whole lot that goes into, you know, there's very little state funding that goes into abortions. And
yeah, a large majority of it comes from the Soros hedge fund. But,
okay. Yeah, I know. I know it's horrible, but yeah, so about 14% is actually only public funding. So it's, but
right,
if you're allowing, you know, if you're trying to put more and more people into, you know, and I was saying it's like gonna be, you know, hundreds of thousands, but still you're putting more people into state-run facilities. You're just adding to, you know, A, the deficit, and B, they're living in a shit environment. And
as of right now, yeah, well, I mean, if you increase the funding to it, then living conditions would improve. But I mean, that's
potentially
that's part of the sacrifice that I think that we need to get to, and you know, that's part of the reason why I'm a libertarian, is because I don't believe in all of this wasteful spending that the government has been doing. You know, if it's wasteful, it shouldn't be a transaction that they should actually be doing. Then if it does not benefit the people or the public in any way, it should not be spent.
Yeah, but it says that's where the justification of what is in the benefit of the people.
Well, I mean, if it's I mean, increasing funding to institutions would be a benefit to the people, because the people with the Down syndrome, they are the people, and their lives would benefit from it. It doesn't necessarily have to affect every person, but I mean, just so long as it's like, I guess so long as like the government kind of acts like a charity towards its own people. And I'm not saying like people should be going on like Social Security, or well, not Social Security they earned, but like welfare and stuff like that. I don't think that people should be, you know, leeching off of welfare their entire lives and stuff like that, mind you. But just so long as they improve quality of life for somebody who actually cannot help themselves, you know, in that way, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of where I'm getting at, you know, where I'm at. I mean, and that's only, like you said, that's going to be a very small amount of people, because there's actually some parents out there who don't care. You know, they raise these disabled kids regardless, you know. And I feel like most parents who are willing to carry a kid to term, even knowing that, you know, they're willing to accept that consequence then by just carrying it to term, and then, you know, it's something that they live with, and, you know, it's fine by them.
Yeah.
So,
but if you know, it's these are all, you know, hypotheticals. But if you make the state institutions, you know, give them more funding and they're even better, then, you know, more people are probably going to look at, well, we could put them there because it's a nice place, you know, and we don't have to worry about it, you know. And, you know, you're perpetuating the, you know, not worrying about having, you know, safe sex and shit like that. And it just circles right back to, you know, educating and eliminating the thought of abortion or having to give up for adoption or institutionalize in that rare occasion.
well, I'm only saying because these are instances which have to come up regardless.
Yeah. But you got to cover all your bases. You got to kind of look at all.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. There's no one universal solution to it. It's a case by case scenario, and this is just one of the cases, and this is one of the hypotheticals that I bring up.
There is a universal solution. We just eliminate all human life on this planet. Then we don't have to worry about it.
Oh, the big rock is coming. Don't worry.
Yeah. So it's coming. So why the fuck are we even arguing or talking about this shit? Fuck it. Let's just everybody strip naked, get in a big pile, and just go at it.
Yeah, no, let's not do that, actually.
Well, you don't want to be at the bottom of the pile?
Trust me, I wouldn't be. I would find some way.
Just start grabbing anything and start pulling. You'd eventually get to the top.
Exactly.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What'd this turn into?
I don't know.
Oh. All right.
I know. We were talking about Minecraft or something before all this started. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Yeah. So I think we're good.
Yeah,
I think I've clarified
so.
my point a little bit. I've clarified my point. You've been able to kind of go on yours, and we've been able to discuss and talk. And
I'm looking through my notes right now and trying to find something else that kind of comes up to stuff. But the only one I really have left is more or less an argument to emotion or whatever. But that's like I said, it's an argument to emotion. It sucks. So
it's on my channel, so that's snuff for my channel. So if you want to go for emotion, go for it.
Well, basically, all I'm saying is that we make such a fuss about the humanity of killing people who are on death row for, like, you know, killing multiple people and mutilating them and bathing in their blood and stuff like that. You know, it's always, oh, well, we can't hurt them in their last days. We have to give them a little injection, just a little poke, and that's it. And they can't feel anything either. I was like, no.
Hey, I am pro mutilation of people who do horrific things. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I
saw that video. I don't know if you've seen it yet. You probably haven't, but it was in my recommended feed for absolutely no reason.
There's probably a reason.
It was like some sort of propaganda video, like depicting what would happen if we were to mutilate people who have done like mutilation acts and stuff like that on like death row. Instead of just killing them, we actually mutilate them themselves, and it just portrays like the perpetrator in such a you know, sympathetic light, like, oh, I'm in so much pain. Oh, look at how much you've ruined my life. Yeah, look at how much you ruined somebody else's life.
Yeah, no, see, I'm a big. Do you ever listen to George Carlin?
No, I do not.
Oh my God! So you got to watch George Carlin. So his thing on like death row and stuff like that is that, you know.
Oh, wait a minute. He's the comedian, right?
Yeah.
I think I've heard him once before speak on it.
Jesus Christ. Google George Carlin and abortion, and you'll hear about a third of my argument. But if you watch George Carlin, he's got some interesting insights when it comes to like death row. Bringing back, boiling people in oil, crucifixions, firing people from catapults. And here's the thing is that we don't just do it. We televise it because this country would watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it would
America is a sick fucking nation. We would watch it. We'd put it on TV. We could sell tickets, so like the whole thing with boiling people in oil, you put them on the end of a rope, and then you let the crowd, decide how fast the rope goes.
Or better yet, allow the victim's family to decide.
Yeah. Or and just as a goof, just roll them in some tempura. Roll them in batter and then deep fry them. If you start doing some of these severe, not just
feed them to starving African children.
See, there you go. Now you're thinking. You put it on pay-per-view. You balance the budget. You feed them to the Africans. You're feeding other nations. There's other ways to go about this. But if you start putting these people out there and showing that, we're going to be tough on, you're going to die. It's not going to be this nice little injection. It's going to be painful.
Yeah,
you're going to pay for your fuck up.
No, I mean, all right. We're kind of getting derailed on the path of the point that I was on.
Yeah.
It's cruel and unusual punishment or whatever, but that person actually did something to deserve being killed, and then you have like a fetus where the process involves you drilling a hole into their skull and sucking out their brains with a straw, and then taking scissors and cutting them up and pulling them out piece by piece. It's like, okay, yeah, fine. We can do that to baby. We can do that to babies all we want, but hardened criminals who have ended people's lives, no, they just get a little poke.
Yeah, no, I understand your argument on that. Is that there's people who are a bit hypocritical on it, and
yeah.
But you're also not looking at the the chemical, because you can have take the there's a pill. There's a medicine you can take, so you don't have to do the whole, Hoover abortion.
Well, I mean, but how effective is it, especially on like late terms?
Well, yeah. Again, I don't agree on late terms, but it doesn't work on late terms. It's 13-week, I think, something like that. It's the early term,
something like that. But then it has to call into question if you're beyond that point for whatever reason. You just kind of stalled it out, and then by that point you probably would have to get into the more mutilation part of it.
Yeah.
And that I absolutely do not agree with. But then again, I don't agree with the whole thing in the beginning. So
I think we figured that out.
Yeah. But no, and yeah, that's basically all. That's basically like my last point on this whole thing is just like it's hypocritical to say, oh yeah, and I'm not saying that you say this. I'm just saying that this is something that I've seen as a common trope throughout other people. Is that, yeah, okay, fine, rights for people who murder people, but we can be as barbaric as we want towards fetuses when we're aborting them at a certain stage.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Wait a minute. I see it in the chat too. Somebody just brought up the 4% statistic about people who are innocent. That's why they stay on death row for so long.
Yep. Appeal after appeal after appeal.
Yep, and that's why they're able to appeal. That's why they're able to sit on death row. That's why if new evidence comes up, they get a brand new trial.
Mm-hmm. And it's only 4%. Yes, 4% is a big number for if you're innocent, but it used to be a lot higher.
Absolutely. I mean, now that we have forensic evidence and stuff like that to kind of corroborate stuff like that, you can pretty much prove innocence or guilt without a shadow of a doubt anymore nowadays. But there is the rare outlier, yes, every once in a while, but then it just comes down to appeals. You're sitting on death row for like 4 years or
even longer.
No, longer than that. It's longer than that.
Yeah.
Why did I even say 4 years? It's more like 20.
Yeah. 4 is like a really short number. Like you would have to have like killed a lot of people in front of a bunch of cameras.
Oh well, no. If it's something like that, I just say get everybody out of the courtroom and have somebody shoot them right on the spot.
No, remember, oil, feed the Africans.
Well, that's what you gotta do. You just gotta take it out afterwards, and then you take the bullet out afterwards. And then you grill them or deep fry them or whatever.
Shit. Oh my god.
So yeah, no, that's basically the point. That's basically all of my points. Do you have anything else on your list that you might have overlooked?
Not really.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you remember, but in my reply to your comment on my video is I really don't want to debate you on this one.
Yeah.
I understand your point of view. You kind of.
Well, no. I did this more or less for your benefit because I'm going to be very level with you. That was one of the worst videos I've ever seen on YouTube.
That's fine. I understand. Hey, at least you got to start somewhere. Damn it.
Yeah, I know, but if you look at my start though,
but you have not
didn't even have a microphone, and
you have not seen my other videos that I have pulled off my channel.
I saw water stapled to a tree.
That is I actually have like 70 or 80 videos, and most of them have pulled off my channel because they show my face, and B, they're just so horrific. So yeah.
Yeah, no.
But at least in a few months they'll say, "Wow, look how far you've come."
Yeah,
it's a ploy.
Wow, it's almost like if you actually put effort into it, they get better.
Effort? What's that? It's like a script. I don't know what that is.
Exactly. No. But yeah, that's going back to what I was saying. Like that was a pretty awful video. But I understand it was one of your first ones, so yeah. I'm not gonna crucify you over it. If it was like if you were at the stage where I'm at, where I've got like 100 up so far, and if I made one like that, and if it was not like meant to be taken like seriously as like a regular response video or something like that, yes, I would want people to come knocking at my door with torches and pitchforks.
Yeah.
But
well, you have to give me credit though. That video did actually, get up there in views. If you were to look at all the views on my other videos, that one did get up there pretty high.
Well, yeah, that's because you went on Bear.
Yo, even then.
But no, like I said, I only wanted to do this more or less to give you more of an opportunity to kind of get your opinions out a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more for myself, honestly, too, because I mean, there's only so much that you can cover within. I don't even know how long that video was, like 8 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I just want to give you your time to shine, kind of give your audience a little bit more perspective on it, and also because you have me on here, you're probably going to get some more, maybe some more subscribers, some more views,
I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing your big subscriber base to my channel.
All 202 of them.
Well, you did. So, hey, on that, are you doing a 200 sub video, or are you going to wait till you get like?
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to do a stream on it, but and I wanted to invite some people on. I DM'd Ghastly on Discord and asked if he and Angry Pepe wanted to do one, potentially as soon as like tomorrow. But he hasn't gotten back to me, so I'm probably gonna try on Twitter, and then I'm gonna give it another week. Say like next Friday, we'll do another one.
Okay.
And I'll see if I can get those guys on. I already shot a DM at Sugar Tits, asking if she wants to come back on. I asked Irate Bear, but he says Fridays are Ghost Poo podcast days, so I understand he can't miss those.
Yeah. It's hard getting schedules, because
exactly that's my thing. Like I'm just nervous, like when I ask these people, like can you come on this certain day and a certain time, especially if you're asking like a whole bunch of people to show up at around the same time. It's kind of hard to get all that coordinated, but I definitely will be doing one later on as soon as I hear back from somebody on it that they are that they're open and willing to doing it. So yes, I do want to get some big names in it, though. That's kind of like the whole point of it. It's a celebration, you know what I'm saying? It's 200.
It's like a birthday party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and congratulations on your 200. And you know, I'm gonna be clipping at your heels here pretty soon.
No, you won't.
So, probably not.
Your content is trash.
That's why you've been on my channel so many times.
Exactly. I've been here to improve it.
I see. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, this is why I don't. So, like with my channel, I don't do political shit. I really, you know, the reason I did that one is because I saw it and it was like something that I had, you know, it's firsthand knowledge of. Well,
okay. Yes. Don't lie. Don't lie. You wanted to bite on Bear and get his views.
Honestly, not really. Because I mean, I like Bear, but I don't. Again, I would love to have him on the Devil's Advocates because that's my focus. And I saw that and I'm like, I want to, you know, say something about this. That was it.
Yeah.
And I did. It was kind of well, this that
Yeah, it was just god awful. Don't ever do that again.
Okay, I won't. I'll stick to Devil's Advocates.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if you do choose to do like another response video in the future, you got to script it out and put more effort into it. So, thank you, T-Tac and Irate Prostate. Thank you for congratulating me on my 200. If you're not subbed already, definitely go and do that. I got a new video out with Sir Wolfie. I'm shamelessly plugging myself here now.
Go for it.
On Flat Earthers. I just uploaded that yesterday. It's not one of my proudest videos, but I'm not a scientist, but I still did a pretty good job, according to what some other people have been telling me. And later on, we're going to be doing I'm going to be doing a video on psychics supposedly reading the news. That's going to be a thing. And
wow.
And I'm going to have some other stuff coming up on the horizon yet. I haven't exactly decided what I'm going to be doing yet, but we're going to have some new fun stuff. Probably some more skit videos in the future because those are doing really well. The ones were with like Keck and Tim and Cletus and all that.
Those are probably your better ones.
Well, yeah, especially if there's like no sub. The thing is, though, like I used to do it with with a video so that it would kind of piece together and like build a narrative for it.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of became a little bit harder as I kind of progressed and delved into some different subjects. So I might just be doing skit videos completely separate from other videos from now on. Unless it's like something like kind of like the Halloween special. But then again, that was pretty much a completely different animal onto itself. So, yeah.
All right.
Oh, wait a sec. Here, T-Tac. Here, I'll go and sub to you. I don't think I was before. There you go. There you go.
All right. Share the subs. So, but it's getting. I gotta actually get.
Somebody turned on the heat. What?
Shitty. So I actually got to get to bed because I got to get up in like 5 hours for work.
Oh yeah. Then you can go ahead and end it then.
All right, but I appreciate everybody watching. You know, if you guys haven't subbed to Keck, go sub to him. Watch his shit. He actually does decent content. Compared to mine, decent? Epic. I was like, let me go here. Compared to mine, it's epic. Unless you're looking at the Devil's Advocates.
Compared to mine, I'm freaking Stephen King not Stephen King. Stephen King is awful.
I think you just lost Red then. Ooh.
No, I will actually do a whole video on why I think that Stephen King is one of the worst authors ever.
I will let Red know to look out for that one. But if you haven't, go subscribe to Keck. And don't forget, every Sunday we do the Devil's Advocates live at 1 p.m. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed to me, sub or don't. I don't care.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's terrible.
I think everybody in the room has already subbed to me, so don't worry about it. Fuck it. Appreciate all my subs showing up. Anyway, so
all 6 of you.
Yeah. Hey, at least the 6 that are in here could hear us this time.
Yeah, that's true. Don't ever use OBS, kids.
Nope. It's bad for you. It's cancer. So, all right. We'll see you all later. And I'm leaving now. Bye.